Welcome back to Senior Decluttering Diaries. Today, we're diving into a difficult but important truth. Seniors who hold on to these 7 things often find themselves isolated in their later years. It may sound harsh, but sometimes the reality we need to face is uncomfortable. At 75, Helen sat in her spotless home, surrounded by untouched furniture. Her phone rarely rang. Months later, her nephew came by to check in, only to discover the devastating truth. What he found inside her house revealed why so many seniors end up feeling completely alone. If you're over 60 and recognize any of these items in your own home, this message could save you from the same fate. Because what I'm about to share isn't just about clutter, it's about hidden barriers that quietly push away the people you love most. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to Senior Decluttering Diaries for more life-changing insights on thriving in your golden years. Now, let's get honest together. The first barrier is something I call the trophy room of yesterday. Helen's friend Linda, a retired nurse from Chicago, filled her home with certificates, plaques, and photos from her career in the 1980s. Every time her grandchildren visited, the stories began. Back in my day, followed by long tales about old achievements. What Linda didn't realize was that her family felt like visitors in a museum. Psychologists say that when our homes are overwhelmed with reminders of the past, we send the message that our best days are behind us. Linda's daughter finally admitted that the constant time capsule environment made her dread visiting. The turning point came when Linda chose just a few meaningful items to display and carefully stored the rest in albums. Suddenly, her home felt alive again, and her grandchildren wanted to visit more often. The second relationship killer is what I call the fortress of outdated furniture. George, a 72-year-old from North Carolina, couldn't understand why his kids always suggested meeting somewhere else. Then he realized the truth was sitting right in his living room. His sofa from the mid-80s sagged so badly that no one could sit on it for long. His dining chairs were stiff and formal, making family meals short and uncomfortable. Social workers point out that old, rigid furniture sends an unconscious message that comfort doesn't matter here. George finally replaced his sectional with a modest but modern couch and a couple of recliners. He even added a light coffee table that could be moved for games. Within weeks, his family suggested hosting dinners at his house again. The third trap is the museum of half-finished projects. Barbara, 74 from Arizona, hadn't used her dining table for eating in over 5 years. Instead, it was buried in yarn, puzzles, and unfinished crafts. Whenever her daughter visited, conversations stalled in guilt and regret. Those incomplete projects didn't just take up physical space, they reminded everyone of decline and lost potential. Experts say these abandoned hobbies become emotional anchors, keeping seniors stuck in the past. Barbara finally donated most of her supplies to a local community center and kept just a small box of projects she could realistically finish. That single decision turned her dining room back into a welcoming gathering space where family could eat, laugh, and reconnect. The fourth isolation trap is something many of us have seen: the plastic-wrapped prison. Frank, 69 from Florida, had plastic covers on every piece of furniture. His remotes were wrapped in bags, and even lampshades had protective film. When his granddaughter visited, she was constantly told not to touch anything. One day, she finally asked him, "Grandpa, do you love your couch more than me?" That question pierced his heart. He realized he had been protecting objects more than relationships. The very things he thought he was preserving were costing him precious moments with the people he loved. He removed every cover, and almost instantly, his home transformed from a sterile showroom into a place of warmth and comfort. Family began staying longer, laughing louder, and visiting more often. Next comes the just-in-case junk room. Martha, 73 from Oregon, had a spare bedroom overflowing with clothes she hadn't worn in decades, boxes of unused gadgets, and even exercise equipment she swore she might use someday. Her son's kids had to sleep on air mattresses in the living room whenever they visited because the guest room was unusable. The emotional toll was even greater than the physical inconvenience. Every time Martha looked at the clutter, she felt overwhelmed and guilty. Her family eventually stopped mentioning it altogether because the conversations always ended in tension. Downsizing experts warn that hoarding just-in-case items communicates that possessions are more important than relationships. Martha's turning point came when she applied the 1-year rule. If she hadn't used it in 12 months, it had to go. She transformed her spare room into a cozy guest base, and family visits quickly turned into weekend stays instead of quick drop-ins. The sixth isolating habit is the shrine of the departed. Henry, 76, from New York, had filled his house with reminders of his late wife. Her clothes were still in the closet. Her medication sat untouched on the nightstand, and nearly every surface displayed her photos. Her daughter Karen finally told him, "Dad, it feels like Mom is more present here than I am, and she's been gone for 3 years." Grief is natural, but when a home becomes a shrine, living family members feel like they're competing with ghosts. Counselors explain that excessive memorials signal that emotional energy remains tied to the past instead of the present. Henry decided to keep a small memorial corner in his bedroom, but removed the overwhelming displays from shared spaces. The difference was remarkable. Karen began visiting more often, and her children felt welcome instead of uneasy. Finally, the seventh and most toxic item is what I call the collection of old grudges. Evelyn, 75, from California, kept boxes of old letters and documents on her coffee table, ready to prove how various relatives had wronged her. Every visit became a replay of arguments from decades ago. Her son David eventually stopped bringing his children because he didn't want them exposed to constant negativity. Therapists warn that holding on to grudges steals every chance to build joy in the present. Evelyn's breakthrough came when David told her, "Mom, I can't change the past, but I want a future with you. Right now my kids think family means criticism, and I don't want that to be your legacy." That truth sank in. Evelyn cleared away her evidence box and made the choice to focus on today. She learned that forgiveness wasn't about excusing the past, but about freeing herself to live again. 6 months after making these changes, people like Linda, George, Barbara, Frank, Martha, Henry, and Evelyn all experienced the same transformation. Their homes no longer felt like museums, prisons, or shrines. They became places of laughter, connection, and love. Families returned, friendships rekindled, even neighbors started dropping by again. The real change wasn't just in their homes, it was in their relationships. Loneliness in our later years isn't inevitable. Often it comes down to choices we make about what to hold on to and what to release. The truth is, every object you keep is either a bridge to connection or a wall that shuts people out. The good news is you get to decide which it will be. So let me ask you, which of these 7 sounded most familiar in your life? Be honest in the comments below. Recognizing the problem is the first step towards fixing it. If this video opened your eyes, please give it a like and share it with someone who needs encouragement today. And don't forget to subscribe to Senior Decluttering Diaries for more powerful lessons on living fully in your golden years. Your next chapter doesn't have to be written in loneliness. The people who love you are waiting. All they need is for you to show them that they matter more than your grudges, more than your possessions, and more than your past.